Okay, so here we're going to prepare the canvas. This goes with worksheet 6. So first of all, we're going to close the dart. So here the dart is cut out. We have a bias strip of pocketing cut, and we're going to stitch it to the one side of the dart with the lock stitch. Now I'm going to use a contrast thread so you can see it, but of course you would colour match. So I'm lining up the centre line here, the cut line of the dart, to the centre of my bias strip of pocketing. And then I'm also going to place my foot to the edge of the pocketing. So we can see underneath the cut line to the centre of the pocketing and the foot to the edge of the pocketing. This way we're guaranteed to catch both layers. So continue this the length of the dart. Now the pocketing is cut longer than the dart by a couple of centimetres at each end. So back tack either end to secure. And then we can trim our thread ends. Now I'm now going to turn the canvas over. So we're working from the other side now because I want to close the dart. So we're going to start from the top again and work down. So we're working both sides in the same direction. So I can see where the top of the tape is because I have my stitch line on the other side. So I am just going to start. Join my cut edges together using the edge of the foot as a guide. Yeah, so the edge of the foot with our cut edge here, and we're pushing them together. And again, we know if we open this up that we are actually stitching on the pocketing as well as the canvas. Always stop with your needle in as we readjust, and we come down the edge of the dart and back tack. After attaching either side of our reinforcement strip of the pocketing, we now have to keep these two raw edges nice and flat and secure. So in the notes, it states to do a zigzag stitch on top here to hold these in place. But I'm actually going to lock stitch in a zigzag pattern to do the same thing. I'm going to work from the side of the pocketing so I can see it. We're going to back tack at the start. And it doesn't matter if we come outside of the lines or even if we were to accidentally go over the pocketing. And we're just going to create a zigzag pattern. But what we want to make sure is that underneath, and I can feel there that it's nice and flat. Yeah, we don't want any folds. Needle in as we turn. And you continue to do this all the way down the length of the pocketing. I'm not worrying about same widths between my diagonals. I'm just worried about keeping what's underneath flat. This does take a minute or two. So if you're watching the video, please feel free to zoom to the end of this process. The end is in sight, not too many more. And then back tack to secure the base. Then that is our dart closed on our jacket front. Once we finish the dart, we now have to add volume into the shoulder. On here we've divided the shoulder into 3. On the mark closest to the neck and the front edge of the jacket, we have cut down 7.6 centimeters, and this is running parallel with our front edge. We also have the same piece of canvas cut to infill behind to open up a dart. The dimensions for your insert are on your worksheet. So this piece goes on the same side as the reinforcement of pocketing for the dart. So I have my reinforcement and our front. So I am going to place my front panel on top of our insert by about 1.5, yes, from here to here. And then I'm going to put the edge of my foot on the cut line as a guide. So I'm going to back tack for security. So then with my dart, I'm going to make sure I'm running the cut edge into the center of my infill piece. And then using the edge of the foot as a guide, sew this on. When I come to the point of the cut, the end, I'm gradually going to come in at an angle to create the apex of the dart. We're going to turn around and we're going to come up the other side. And what we have to do at the top edge here, we have to make an opening of 1.3 centimeters. Okay. So then I'm going to hold that in place. And I'm going to stitch up the other side of the dart, edge of the foot as a guide. And then back tack to secure. Trim our thread ends, keep our work clean. Now on this one here, we don't have to do our zigzag patterning because this is going to have other layers on top that's going to hide and reinforce those raw edges so they're not in danger of fraying or coming away, as is the one on the dart. So we've now changed machines to our zigzag because here we have our chest canvas. Now on our chest canvas we've created a dart which we are going to close. Behind here we're not putting any reinforcement like the pocketing or when we open the dart on the shoulder of the canvas front. So here our only option is to zigzag across to close the dart. So I'm going to start just above the apex of the dart. Make sure my needle's in and I'm going to start to close the dart. So we're putting the cut edges together and they're going to line up with the center of the zigzag. Now everything we've been doing so far on the canvases have been creating shape. We've been closing and opening the darts. So trim your thread ends. And then there we have our dart closed. And you would do that on the left and the right front of your canvas. So here we're starting to join the chest canvas to the front body canvas. So we have our break line clearly marked. And then we also have another line for reference, 1.3 centimeters back. It is to this edge we place the chest canvas. When you put your chest canvas on, you can see that we are outside the shape of the armholes and shoulders. Pin into position and then cut a line parallel to the shoulder, 5 centimeters back, to take the excess off the top of the canvas, turn it over, and then you can cut out your armhole edge. Okay. So then we have to cut down on our chest canvas here. So there's some movement to allow with the movement of the spread where we put the insert on the front canvas. So I've marked the center of the dart, and then I've marked 3.8 either side. And then we're going to cut down on these two reference points 3.8 centimeters, which I've marked to the end. This will give the canvas a little bit of ease and help sit over our extended area here where we've spread the canvas. What fits on next is our collar canvas, our French collar canvas. This is quite firm, but we've cut this on the bias at 12.5 centimeters wide. And what I've done here, I've marked a line 2.5 centimetres parallel from the one side, because I want the chest canvas to sit on this line, and then our canvas edge will be central to the 5 centimetre spread we've got there. You match this edge in line with the chest canvas that's underneath, and trim and cut away the areas here, because your canvas will be just a rectangular shape to start with, which you can place on top, and you can actually see through to see where to cut. So once we have that, and that is in position, we can also just pin this in place. Next, we'll place the flannel, the damet. This is the soft fabric that hides and covers all these harsh edges of the canvas to protect the wearer. So we cut this larger than the canvas, so we know it'll cover, but we want it to sit midway between our break line and our chest canvas. So it'll sit midway there, which is about 6 mil from the break line. It'll cover the canvas all the way around, right up to the top of the shoulder, and then we baste that in position. Referring back to our notes, our worksheet, there's a baste through the middle, and then the front and the curve and up and around the armhole, because we can then trim any excess away. So I'm just going to use a back stitch to start off with to secure our thread. Again, I'm doing it in a contrast so you can see, and then just a running stitch through all the layers, up through the center. With this being on the table and it's nice and flat, I can make sure I can push my needle all the way through. I can feel it on the table to ensure I've got all the layers. So continue till it's fully basted into position and the armhole is trimmed. So we've basted our damet into place and we've turned it over to the right side. You can see the lines of our basting, and we're now going to draw the line to which we're going to fill with our pad stitching. So first of all, I've drawn a line here in tailor's chalk parallel to our row line, our break line. And then on your worksheet, you'll have dimensions and directions to create a new shoulder line and then curve around into the existing armhole shape. So it is this area we will pad stitch, not the whole of the canvas. We will work it in 2 sections. So we will work from our center line that we have parallel here with our row line out to the side. Then we would turn it around and we would come from this side back out. This would depend obviously if you're working on a left or right side of your front, but we work from the center line out to both sides. After we've basted all our canvases together, we then have to pad stitch. Now, pad stitch is a diagonal stitch that anchors all the different layers together. So we start from a central line and work out either side. This half I've already done, but I will show you now how to construct the pad stitch. So we go in and out across from one another, and it is halfway between the diagonal of the previous row. And then we pull the stitch. Again, we go halfway between the previous 2 stitches and across. The stitch length, ideally, we're looking at 1 centimetre and maybe just picking up a couple of mil here. So we just continue along the row until the end. To pad stitch a whole chest canvas area can take a couple of hours, so it's worthwhile making sure you allow yourself enough time to get this job done. I've now come to the end of my row, so I'm going to put the needle in again halfway, or what would be halfway between the previous 2 stitches, but then I'm going to come across a little bit further to start our new row. So I've got a gap there of just over 1 centimetre. So now I'm going to start coming down the opposite direction. So the fabric doesn't move, we sew up and down. So I'm going to go halfway there from our first stitch and go. Again, halfway. I'm not going in between, I'm coming to just slightly to the side. And again. When you stitch towards the shoulder area, the canvases are really quite thick there, so you will need the tailor's thimble to help push it through the layers. Okay, and we just continue. And our lines are running parallel to our break line, our row line, which we had marked on our pattern. And our diagonal stitches here on the front, on the right side, create little dashes on the wrong side. And this is the side that goes against the body, as this is the damet, our flannel, which is soft and covers all the harsh areas of the canvases underneath. I'm about to come to the end of the row again, so we'll just show another turn. So I'm going in here, halfway between our 2 stitches, then I'm coming across, because this is our line that we have chalked in, at least 1 centimetre. If the angle of a stitch is slightly off, it doesn't matter, and we can work our way. So I'm going to go a small stitch to start. This one is just below. So I'm imagining I'm halfway between, and I'm doing my horizontal stitch. Then halfway in between, and then just coming across again. And we're going back up in the other direction. And as I say, the fabric stays the same. it is our sewing direction that changes. And again, it's just all the way up to the other end, turn and come back down until we have completed our canvas. Once you've completed the pad stitching, the edge of the flannel is then slip stitched in to hold it flat. So we're just going to pick up a little bit of each and then just a diagonal catch and down. We do this all the way around the canvas just to hold it flat and in position.